This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're celebrating the Bates football team's 30-5 win over Bowdoin under the lights at Garcelon Field. Plus, the cross-country teams turned in a strong performance at the NESCAC Championships, and the field hockey and men's soccer teams played in their NESCAC tournaments. That's coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The Bates football team ended its 17-game losing streak in a big way Saturday night, trouncing rival Bowdoin 30-5 at Garcelon Field in the first nighttime home football game in team history. In the 122nd meeting between the old rivals, first-year Tyler Bridge rushed for 188 yards, and junior Brendan Costa passed for 212 yards and 3 touchdowns, including 2 to sophomore Jackson Hayes.
Brings a man in motion. And drops back, throwing down the near sideline, has a man, Jackson Hayes has it, and Jackson Hayes is into the end zone for 6. 2nd and 10, Costa throwing down the near sideline, Hayes has it, it's a touchdown!
Bates gained 523 yards on the night, their most in one game since 2011. And the Bobcats defeated the Polar Bears for the 8th time in 9 years, while giving second-year head coach Malik his first victory. Fifth quarter on the Bates Bobcast with the head coach of the Bobcats, Malik Hall. And Coach Hall, under the lights against Bowdoin, your first win as a head coach here at Bates. How you feeling right now?
I feel good. I mean, it's hard to win, but it does feel good to win. And more importantly, I'm excited for our Bobcat community. This was a long overdue win. For every game we let go through our hands or that we didn't get it done, this is one of those deals that it infuses confidence into the team, it infuses confidence into the game planning, and with anticipation from our fan base to try to put together another W this week versus Hamilton.
And big plays have been a problem for the Bobcats defensively this year, but this time you flipped the script and the offense pulled off some big-time plays. How good was that to see? And how about Jackson Hayes, the sophomore receiver, really a huge game for him?
Yeah, Jackson being, 5'9", 170 pounds with quarters in his pocket. He plays with the edge, and that edge that he plays with is what gives him the fortitude to do some things, daring, to challenge corners and safeties in his route progression. And I was happy for him because he had an outbreak freshman year, and this year has been a slow start for him. But what a way to kick it off in the beginning of the game, 2 big touchdowns. And for him and Costa together, trying to link up in the deep ball has been a challenge this year. It's taken a while for us to find the rhythm, but it also shows that when we're clicking on every cylinder, we can be a very dangerous team. Offensively, you talk about Costa spreading the ball around. We threw the ball efficient, and we only threw it, 18 times? And in that efficient throwing, you got 2 big bomb touchdowns, 3 bomb touchdowns, yeah. And, giving him the ability that if it's not there to continue to run. So total offense, I think we were in over 400 in total offense. And again, those are just, compliments to what we should look like when we're dialed in and locked in and playing with great chemistry and great confidence.
Tyler Bridge back on the field and rushes for almost 200 yards. It's a monster game for him, some big-time runs. What have you seen from him, getting back out there and having the game like he did?
I truly credit, his high school, Coach Roach at Wells. He's groomed TB to be that kind of kid. I also credit his mom and dad because he's also humble along the way. And coming off of some injury where he hasn't played in 4 or 5 weeks, you expect Russ to come off, but he knocked Russ off by almost rushing for 200 yards. He's a physical force. I mean, at 6'3", 220, and running a ball with authority like he does, it presents a challenge for defenses. But I was extremely happy with the offensive line and getting that push so he can add into that authoritative running style that he has. Shoulders down, forward lean, and when you add the O-line firing off, getting that same push, I mean, really, a 200-yard day, sounds about right the way our O-line played and the way he played.
I was going to say, offensive line, a lot of seniors in that group. Pretty special performance, it seemed like.
Yeah, we worked intentionally on getting our seniors out there for the first series. And as it shook out, Phil, Flanagan, OB, and Matt Golden, holy smokes, like those 4 guys all had good days. Matt Golden had a nice little scamper on a pull, had a few catches, and you talk about 3 of the 5 offensive linemen being seniors and to close out their game against Bowdoin at a night game at Garcelon Field. Listen, some scripts we can write, but that one I don't think we could have.
Certainly, you touched on the night game, the atmosphere. What was the atmosphere like from your perspective?
Oh, I mean, listen, we had the Cats Carnival. The street was closed down. You had the Lewiston Armor, like, bulletproof, bomb-proof truck that kids were climbing on. I think when we were warming up on the field and our guys saw all of the people that came out to support them, it makes you think, can you imagine what it looks like when we really got it rolling? I think the community wants something to do on a Saturday morning, definitely a Saturday night, and what better place to be than on the football field for a night game at Garcelon. So the atmosphere was amazing. I think our guys looking at it, we went with white under the lights, which was, again, just trying to change up the atmosphere to match that atmosphere. We don't have an all-white alternative uniform yet, but that does not mean that we still can't present the white under the lights with our top. And I thought it was well received from our guys, from our fan base. And, whenever you can get a W and the fans want to rush your field like that, I think that's just a win for the B.
And we touched on one Mainer who had a big day, Tyler Bridge. Another Mainer who had a big day, who's a senior, Zach Doyon with the interception. That must be nice to see from him on senior day, a leaping catch like that.
Yeah, my man Zoyan. How about that? Every Maine kid had a good performance Saturday. But Doyon, listen, he's a pre-med guy. And so some nights he might only get 3 hours of sleep due to studying. And so this was one of those weeks for him. And to see him recover like he did and have the performance that he did, I was excited for him. I was excited for his family to see him perform that way in his last game. And not to mention, when you talk about doing something for the B, he came in here, and when we got here, he was a tailback.
Right.
And, when you talk about do it for the B, he changed positions late last year, mid-season, versus Middlebury, and came on to be a starter at middle linebacker and to close out his game with a pick, a few TFLs, and a ton of tackles. I'm happy for him. More importantly, I'm happy for all of our seniors because seeing him go out like that encourages our juniors to rise to the occasion for the seniors. And I think everyone did. Everyone rose up for our senior class to play well, and our seniors played extremely well. Sarasi, Sauce had a great game, had about 7 tackles. He's been hurt about all season just about. And so that senior package that we put together, it means something to him. and I think they reciprocated that with their effort.
Certainly, one of the underclassmen, a big play. We talked last week how Sean Bryant should be ready for the next opportunity, and boy, was he ever.
Hello, hot coffee. He comes onto the scene again after being beat up all season and had a breakout game last week. And how about following it up with another deep ball, going up, catching it for a touchdown. Like, again, I'm proud of Sean. Even more, too, to that point, Sean's brother has been out for a while. So when you think about, caring for a sibling or having a sibling on the team and he's not there, that plays a part in the athletic psyche. And he's done a great job in absorbing it. The Bobcat posse has done a great job in giving him a shoulder to lean on as a support system. And it shows up on Saturday for him, and I'm happy for him.
And then the game, I mean, you guys won pretty handedly. It wasn't, we were talking about these close games the Bobcats have had the fourth quarter. But this time the fourth quarter, it wasn't really that close. What was that feeling like?
Wow. Like, again, man, it's so hard to win. You forget. You don't really, the score. You know what the score is. You know what's going on. But as a coach, you always know something's waiting for you around the corner. Mm-hmm. And so, even at the end where we probably could have punched in to get another touchdown, I believe that, a lot of head coaches and a lot of teams in our league have shown us some grace in those scenarios. And though we got our first win, it was important to show our guys, it's okay to get a win, but not to just show people up, right. And to some degree, our guys wanted to get another touchdown.
Sure.
And I get that. I do. And I think those are learning moments for our team to understand what respecting your opponent looks like, that I'm going to compete hard to win and to beat my opponent, but the respect value on your opponent is when you're on the 3-yard line, you can go in and score, but you can also show respect and take a knee.
Yeah.
And that was the thought process. So being that we were up so much, it was just, let's keep playing good football. Let's not do anything that could really change the energy or the momentum of the game. And when you got Bridge running like he was running and the O-line blocking like they were blocking, it's not a lot really to do other than just let your guys finish the game. And I was proud that they finished the game with no turnovers. I was proud that they finished it, relatively speaking, with no penalties. And you saw a mature ball club this weekend. And it's my hopes that we double down on that maturity, double down on our ability to compete for 4 quarters, and see if we can bring home another W for the Bobcat family.
I was going to say that. I mean, coming off an emotional win like this, what's your approach this week in practice preparing this team for Hamilton, the final regular season game here?
Yeah, I think, we're going to change some things up in the practice schedule just to kind of keep them on their toes. Yeah. Also, I think once you get that taste, you just want to taste it like, I need it again. Mm-hmm. And so relying on some of the natural relying on the human disposition to want more success and rely on our coach and organization to kind of switch some things up to make them have to focus a little harder. Because I think you can get in a situation where you just want to ride that wave. But the deal with that is you have to still work at the wave, right? It's just not go, we won, now we going to win the next one. Like, if we rely on our accolades from the Bowdoin game to show up the Hamilton game, that means we're playing Bowdoin twice. Mm-hmm. And we have to switch gears and switch the face of our opponent. If not the face, certainly the color, because we're not playing Bowdoin this week. And we're traveling for 8 hours to get to Hamilton. And so, when you think of away games present more challenges than just the opposing team. Travel plays a part in it. Routine plays a part in it. And so we want to be able to keep our routine as best we can, but also change it up so they have to catch the thread and focus and respond, because this is the one that's easy to kind of say, okay, we finally won, now we're on track. Hamilton's going to lay down because we come into town. Like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And so as a coaching staff, we're working diligently to do some things to spark change, but also be consistent in some of the things that we do schematically so we're not reteaching. And so we're excited. Hamilton, they are a physical ball club. They're fighting to win 5 games right now. That's the position we wanted to be in. They have they have a really good 2-tandem tailback. They have a scat back number 7 who's pretty dynamic in space, runs hard. And then they have a bowling ball number 30 who's short, round, and loves the ground. And so that combination with the quarterback being able to flick it downfield, they're a 50-50 team. And so we want to make them one-dimensional and force them into just passing the ball. And if we get that done, I think we'll be okay. Offensively, their defense is a stout defense. They're not going to give you a bunch of looks. They're going to line up. They're going to know where you're going, and they're going to beat you to the spot. They rely on their effort, their discipline, not the configuration or the scheme. And that in itself and in its own right is dangerous because they're clear on who they are. Yeah. And formations don't get them to sway their style. And so this is one of those deals where you know where you're getting. Can you out-execute them? Because their game plan is to out-execute you defensively, be where they know you're going to be, and break the play up. And so our challenge is, can we out-execute them because they're not easily fooled and they don't change much. And so even though you know where they're going to be, now out-executing him because he knows you're coming to get him. You know you're going to get him. Yeah. So this is one of those deals where, hey, you know where I am. I'll be here at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Yeah. And can you get 4 quarters of high execution and high energy? So, and then the special teams part of it, they have a really good kick return team. 25, I think, or 26 is very dynamic. I think they're even lead in the NESCAC and return yards for KOR. And so our kickoff team, I have a challenge there. And like every week, it's hard to win. We have to build it to win all through the week in hopes that we can compete for 4 quarters and like where we stand at the end.
All right, well, you got the win this past Saturday. Hopefully another one this upcoming Saturday. Malik Hall, thanks so much.
And wins make it a great day to be a Bobcat.
Bridge returned from injury and shined. His 188 rushing yards are the most in one game for a Bobcat since Sean Atkins ran for 302 against Bowdoin in 2002. Bridge is our male Bobcat of the week, but his performance would not have been possible without strong play up front. They don't record any statistics you see in the box score, but the Bates offensive line was a key component in Saturday's senior night victory. Senior linemen Matt Flanagan, Jack O'Brien, and Phil Simplicio joined the Bobcast to talk about their careers and what sticking with the program means to them. We got a trio of Bates senior offensive linemen with us here on the Bobcast. Matt Flanagan, Jack O'Brien, Phil Simplicio. Matt, senior day, under lights against Bowdoin, got the victory. What was it like there at the end when everyone got to charge the field and celebrate that victory?
Honestly, at the very beginning, I was kind of speechless. We actually, all 3 of us were giving each other a huge hug. And we were like, we had to find a picture for it, but we didn't get the picture off. But it was a good experience because all 3 of us, 3 massive boys, just giving each other some love at the end of the game. And then once a few of our friends, we looked over and they stormed the field, so we just ran out to the B, and it was a great experience. I had to soak it in. So.
How was it for you, Jack?
It was awesome. My brother actually came up from Washington, D.C., and my dad was there, and it was awesome. It was really cool. Just like my whole family came on the field too after, and it was a really special moment. It was long awaited and long overdue, but it was awesome.
Jack touched on family, and Phil, you've got family connections with Bates, to say the least. Your younger brother's on the team. I believe both your parents went to Bates, so extra special, I'm sure, the connection. You've been a Bobcat your whole life, right?
Yeah, I got baby pictures of me in Bates gear. Coach Harriman, our former coach when we were freshmen and sophomores, stayed at my house when I was 1 year old, and there's a picture with him with me as a little baby. But like senior day, it was surreal. Like we're walking on Garcelon, and like all this, like we've had so many memories and like practices and stuff on Garcelon. I've been going there since I was like 4, so kind of weird to have that final game. But to get that win, as Flanny said, like we took the knee and we all kind of looked at each other and were like, holy crap, like we did it. We kind of gave a big hug, and then my high school captain is number 6 on Bowdoin, Nate Richam, and he's one of the better players in the league. So I ran over, gave him a hug, just because he did the same thing for me last year when Bowdoin beat us and stormed the field. So I wanted to return the favor, and I turned, and there's just a massive group of kids on the B, and I'm running around like it's like I'm a 6-year-old again, just just finding kids, giving hugs, and can't thank the students enough. They were rowdy the entire game, and before the game, they're all giving us pats on the back, like, come on, you guys got to get him. And then after the game, they're giving us big hugs, like they just played in it with us. And it was just a great experience. It was fun.
Yeah, excellent. And then, Matt, the offensive line, you paved the way for 188 rushing yards for Tyler Bridge. What really came together for the line there on Saturday?
Really, all I could say is, we all throughout the week, we kind of just were like, we got to do this. We got to pull it off. It's at home. Under the lights, first night game ever, Bates history, I believe, and it's something that is unbelievable. So we were like, we have to make this the best start to a new tradition. So the offensive line was kind of just locked in all week, and obviously we had a few battles on the D line too. So it was a good time, and that's really what forced us to be just kind of a huge force. Paved the way for Bridgie, which is great for him. I'm super proud of him, and we were strong up front, and we just kept on rolling. So,
and Jack, as the center, that's a challenging position on the line. How have you seen how you worked to grow your game these past few years? Kind of being the guy who has to point out different protections and whatnot.
I've just kind of I've had good guys in front of me. So freshman year, I backed up Jimmy Fagan, and then Martin Guiney was really helpful with learning the protections and stuff like that. So just kind of learn from experience, learning from the older guys, and then eventually this week too against Bowdoin, we were prepped really well for that. So we knew they were going to blitz a lot, knew they were going to stunt. So Coach Los did a really great job of just making us watch film and being prepared for all the blitzes and stunts.
And then Phil getting the start on senior day, what was that like for you?
It was surreal. Coming back from injury junior year and just not kind of feeling the same way that I felt the entire way up until that injury, just to kind of have one final day where I'm with the guys that I love to play with and just fly around on the field, have a smile on my face, and kind of beat the crap out of a team. It was fun.
Certainly. Matt, your sophomore year, I believe you were away from the team, and you came back last season and now wrapping things up as a senior. What was it like returning to the team last year for Coach Hall's first season?
So I really wasn't planning on playing football. I kind of just decided to move on, and I was playing hockey and rugby here at Bates. But I was literally, over the summer, I was working, and Coach Hall gave me a call. And he said, listen, you really don't have to play right now. You don't have to say yes right now. But I just want you to think about it. And 2 days later, I gave him another call and said, absolutely, I'm on your side 100%. And it's good to come back and play with these guys because, from the start, we had a strong offensive line core, as freshmen. And so I wanted to continue that. And, honestly, it's been a tough. The first year was tough, the junior year, last year. But, it's all coming together at this point, and I think in the next near future, the team's going to be great.
What does it say about the 8 seniors who stuck with it, Jack?
It's definitely gritty. I definitely say there was originally 21 of us. I'm not going to lie. So just the fact that we're all still here is pretty cool and pretty special, and there's definitely a tight bond between all 8 of us. I definitely think that.
What's your perspective on that, Phil?
Yeah, as Jack said, it's gritty. I kind of speaks to the group of the 8 kids that stuck around, and Flanagan, I roomed with him for 3 years, so I got the text, I think it was over the summer junior year, and he was like, I'm coming back. And I remember just telling my mom and dad, and just like immediately we were all like, oh yeah, let's go. And so yeah, just the 8 of us. We had practice today at 6:15 in the morning, which was a new one for us. And it's just we've had 4 years of just Bates football, and it really shows that like we've stuck together, we've stuck it out, and it shows that we all love this school and like love this program, and we expect big things from it in the near future.
Certainly. Well, just a little bit about your backgrounds. When did you start playing football? When did you decide you wanted to, continue playing, and come to Bates, basically?
So I really growing up, I was too big to play football.
You were too big to play football?
Too big to play football, believe it or not, if that's even possible. In Pop Warner, but I went to Fay School, and they had a youth football team there. So I started playing in 7th grade, and then decided to go to my public high school in Lincoln Sudbury, and I played for Tom Lopez, who actually played football here back in the day.
Right.
So he kind of got me into it and believed in me, and then I was a 4-year starter, and I kind of just loved it so much. And Tom Lopez was a big factor in me coming here as well. My mom and my grandparents also went here, so I have a good history of Bates in the background. So that was another huge pull for me. But I started out Lincoln Sudbury High School in Massachusetts, small DCL league school. We were always pretty good, won the dual county league a bunch, I think all 4 years. And I planned on coming to Bates. I mean, that was my main goal. So,
yeah. How about you, Jack?
So growing up, I was pretty much a hockey player. Like hockey pretty much dictated my whole town. But my dad he's a Division I FCS ref. And so I always wanted to get into football. And then 7th grade at Catholic Memorial in West Roxbury, Mass, I joined the football team and just fell in love with it. And then, I started having a good high school career and just kind of wanted to go to the best school with academics like possible. And as soon as I talked to Coach Harriman and visited here, like I fell in love with the place. I love the campus, love the atmosphere, and I knew Bates was a school for me, and I really don't regret any of it. Like I love it here. It's awesome.
So with your dad being a referee, does that make you a little bit harder on the refs, or a little bit more understanding?
A little bit of both. So like there's a few umpires who know my dad, and so they always come up to me. Being the center too, the umpire always has to come up to me because the substitutions and snapping the ball. But I think I do have a little bit of knowledge and kind of a little critical of the referees. So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Makes sense. How about you, Phil? I mean, obviously, a lot of Bates family connections here, especially for you, as we mentioned before. But How did you decide, on your own, you wanted to come here?
My friends have made a joke. All my high school friends have been committed to Bates since '98, which is when I was born. But I didn't start playing football kind of like Flanny until high school for me. So it was freshman year. That was my dad and mom's decision. Maybe have a few less hits on me in the head. So I didn't start playing until then. I was more of a basketball and lacrosse kid. And then junior year comes around, and these guys can attest to it. That's when all the camps start happening in the summer. And I went to a bunch of camps. Coach Harriman and Coach Averill were the two guys that were my head recruiters. And they talked to me on the phone. I came up again, even though I probably could have given the tour myself where everything was when they were giving me the tour. And I've loved this place since I was little, and it was just it was one of those special moments when I got to tell my parents, like, hey, they're offering me a chip for admissions to help me get in. And so it was kind of one of those special moments I always remember seeing both my parents get all emotional, and it just felt good to come here.
Excellent. Well, to wrap things up, just thoughts you want to share about your time at Bates and about wanting to finish strong. You still have one more game. We talked about voting. Still one more game at Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, It's crazy because it's coming to an end. It's the end of a chapter that, I believe it or not, like we were just talking about, you're saying like in your questionnaire on the pamphlet for the Bowdoin game, he was saying like it feels like yesterday when we were moving in as freshmen. So it's honestly very surreal, and it's coming to an end, but the bonds that this team has created, especially our senior group, the 8 guys, like honestly, it's crazy how tight of a bond we are and how gritty we are, and we get after it. And so hopefully we are in touch and have a good life together.
Certainly. And Jack, how about you?
I completely agree with Matt on that one. It is surreal that it's wrapping up. I mean, there's a lot of memories, good and bad, but it was definitely a hell of a ride and no regrets about it. And just got to get the win against Hamilton next week. This week, sorry.
No bye week, right?
Next week we're retired. Oh, no. As these guys said, like just the time at Bates has been great. We've had we're 2-time CBB champs, which is not many people at Bates can say that in Bates football history. And I think in the future, a lot of classes will be saying they're 3-time, 4-time CBB champs. And I love these guys. I don't think there's a maybe, and if I'll see them post college, I think we're all going to know each other's kids. Our wives might hate us when we go to visit each other, but it's gonna be fun. The retired life is going to be weird. Hopefully we don't get in too much trouble around campus. And
Sounds good. Phil Simplicio, Jack O'Brien, Matt Flanagan, thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The nationally ranked Bates cross-country teams compete at the NESCAC Championships on Saturday, and the men placed 5th out of 11 schools. First-year Eli Besh Dining was the 3rd fastest first year in the field, taking 22nd out of 145 runners. On the women's side, the Bobcats finished 3rd out of 11 schools, led by all NESCAC performances from first-year Jill Richardson and senior captain Olivia LaMarche. But it's the depth of the women's team that was the key to matching the Bobcats' best performance at NESCACs since 1987. Sophomore Tara Ellard continued her strong season by placing 21st, and she is our female Bobcat of the week. Female Bobcat of the week, Tara Ellard with us here on the Bobcast, talking women's cross country. 3rd place for the Bobcats at the NESCAC Championships. Tara, you personally got 3rd on the team, 21st overall. Big step up for you last year at NESCAC. What was the difference you felt kind of this time around?
Yeah, definitely. Last year, it was my first time as a freshman running at the NESCAC meet, so that was definitely a little bit intimidating. But I really felt like this year, my training, I was more confident with that. And just like going into the race, I knew what I had to do. So I was definitely a bit more confident going into this race.
And this course, you'd never run it before, so how do you approach that?
Yeah, I'd never run the race, but the day before we always do a run-through of the course, so I knew what to expect. It was a little bit flatter than what we've been running here in Maine, so it was easy to go out, but then there were some hard hills in the last half.
Well, and then, I don't know, the previous race you'd participated in Oberlin, that was a kind of a flat course too, right? Or very flat.
That was a very flat course, pretty much as flat as you can get, so it was a little bit of a change in the sense that there were some hills, but it was definitely a harder race to kind of map out.
And then the team, obviously, pretty happy with the 3rd place finish. I mean, NESCAC obviously has some really talented teams.
Yeah, we were very happy with the 3rd place finish. You know, we had set some goals ahead of time, and we beat some teams that we wanted to beat, so we were very happy with that.
And then who do you typically run with, and how do you approach things?
Yeah, so we as Bobcats, we like to run together. So my pairing is usually Abby Hamilton. We like to run our races together. In this race, we really stayed together for the first half, so it was nice.
And then I'm curious, during race, are you talking to Abby, or how does that even? Are you just kind of running together in silence, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, definitely. Some races are harder than others, so you have a little bit more energy to talk in others. But going uphill, sometimes we tell each other to push it, or keep together, stay together. Let's get this next girl. We do definitely talk throughout the race to kind of encourage each other and help us get through it.
Is it always race-focused conversation, though, probably?
Yeah, definitely. Some races, if they're going a little bit south, you have to definitely encourage each other more in the races. But, yeah, it's definitely race-focused, just, keeping each other in the zone and keeping us focused.
I was talking with Olivia about this a couple of weeks ago, but obviously for the women's team, you start off with 5Ks at the beginning of the year and then transition into 6Ks. Do you like that transition kind of, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I definitely do like it. We start off the season with even a little bit less than a 5K, and then we go to the 6Ks at the end of the season. So it's nice to kind kind of go from summer training to building up till you get to the 6K, because it is a long race, so it's nice to kind of ease into it.
Certainly. And then how about some of your teammates and, Jill Richardson coming in as a first year? You were a first year last year. What was it like seeing a first year coming in and having the impact she's had?
Yeah, I'm very proud. I mean, Jill's amazing, and what she's doing is great. So it's not only is she doing a lot for the team, but she's really showing how awesome our team can be in the next 4 years. It's always exciting to get freshmen and see what we can do. We have a lot of great freshmen this year.
Excellent. And then New England's coming up at Bowdoin, right?
Yes.
I obviously probably pretty familiar with that course.
Yes, we've actually run at the Bowdoin course a few times now, so we know what to expect. And our team is pretty young. We have a few freshmen running at it, so it'll be nice to kind of encourage them and let them know like what to expect and what it's going to be like. But for us, it's a nice, easy course that we know.
Yeah, so last year as a first year, obviously you had a very solid season, raced at nationals with the team and everything. What was your approach over the summer to get ready for another cross-country season?
Yeah, it was definitely, I knew more about my training and what I needed to do, and I think I went into freshman year just kind of like seeing what I could do and like not really having many expectations, but this summer like I knew what I wanted, and it was definitely a more focused summer for training.
And what was the experience at NCAA's like last year?
It was intimidating. There's a lot of great teams there, especially as a freshman, not really running that many 6Ks or running meets that large before, but it was exciting for sure.
Excellent. What are your thoughts on NESCAC this past weekend and what you're most looking forward to regionals and hopefully nationals after that?
Yeah, I mean, NESCAC was great. We placed way higher than we were expecting, so it was really incredible to see what we could do, and it's even more exciting to see what we can do at regionals now that we have that win behind us and have the confidence moving forward.
Excellent. Tara Ellard, Female Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bates' impressive performances across the board earned head coach Jay Hartshorn her second NESCAC Cross Country Coach of the Year award. With the all-important NCAA Regionals a week from Saturday at Bowdoin, the Bobcats are hoping to qualify for NCAAs for a second straight year. NESCAC Coach of the Year, Jay Hartshorn with us here on the Bobcast. And Coach, what does that honor mean to you as the second one of your career in cross country here at Bates?
I'm just really happy for the team. I think it just sort of represents what this team has done this year, and I think people didn't probably, like our peers or within New England, I think it was easy to look at our last year's team and say we graduated our top 2 runners, we graduated 5 out of 8, like it's supposed to be a rebuilding year for us, and I always just felt like we had the students who were already here or coming in, that if things went right, that we could be really competitive again and, make a run of it and have a really good year.
And obviously third at NESCAC going in, I mean, that seemed like a really good outcome, and that's what it ended up being, I guess.
Yeah, that would have been, the students set that as their goal of something that they wanted to do, and we certainly would have had to have been happy with 4th, maybe feeling a little more disappointed with 5th, because that would have probably represented that things didn't go like as well as it can. And it's, it's cross country. You can't really control the other teams. There's nothing you can do about that. So you just have to really execute your race and hope that you get the outcome that you want.
Well, let's talk about this kind of new look, top runners for the Bobcats. You have Jill Richardson, all NESCAC as a first year. You do have a senior captain, Olivia LaMarche, also getting all NESCAC. And then you have a sophomore, Tara Ellard, who really had a strong meet. She's our Female Bobcat of the Week. We talked to her already. But what about Tara's meet impressed you the most?
It was funny. Right after she finished, I was like, oh, I hope she's Bobcat of the Week. It just sort of went into my head of, she'd be a really good choice. Yeah. So she had, without going into too many details, winter, spring, she just wasn't the runner I thought she was going to be after having some success last year in cross country. And nothing was bad, but nothing was good. And then we figured out some stuff. So she actually came into the year feeling like, all right, I'm just going to have to see what happens. We have so many freshmen. I have to just sort of take it week by week, which is interestingly the same thing that Aiden Eichhoff did last year when she had a really great cross-country season. And then things just sort of immediately started clicking. So it clicked a little quicker than we thought with Tara. And then right before Ohio, she was like, yeah, week by week, I'm just seeing what happens. And I was kind of like, Yeah, here's the thing, like, you're one of our best runners, so, like, we have to change that narrative, and, like, we're counting on you, and so it wasn't that she didn't want to be counted on, but it was sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, this is here, and I need to, like, take the role that I'm, like, ready to have right now.
Well, I noticed the race in Ohio was her best ever 6K time, although it was an extremely flat course, so that can't necessarily be a measuring stick, but still really strong.
Yeah, I mean, that was, like, by far a big breakthrough in that way, in terms of, like, even though it was, like, couldn't have been a faster course, they still come back and say, well, like, whoa, I ran that, and we know going into NESCAC, like, if you ran, a minute slower, then that was totally fine, too. Like, so, but it is sometimes nice to actually get on that flat course, and it's, that's exactly what regionals is going to be like, so it was very much like a tune-up, like, practice, like, I can go out harder than I think and be okay. So it definitely, will help us in 2 weeks having gone to Oberlin.
Yeah, so what's the process like training for the regionals here? Because you don't have a meet this weekend. It's the week after. So it's the same process as normal. What is that like for the women's cross country?
Well, it's sort of nice because you kind of, like, can regroup and have a little extra time to, like, if you have a big week in school, to have your weekend time and get 3 good workouts in. So it's like our normal schedule, what we're used to. And then if you're lucky enough to make it to nationals, you just kind of go, like, regionals to nationals. Maybe you do something in the middle just to make you feel like you're doing something, but all the training's really been done. But it's a little different this year because daylight savings felt like it fell earlier, or our meet is a little later, so it's a little bit harder because we're now getting dark early. So on Friday I was like, you guys done with class? So we can go early on Friday. We might get a touch of snow on Friday, so you start really getting into, like, it could be really cold at regionals. Like, you have to be prepared for all the elements that start hitting you in November.
And then how about first year Jill Richardson? I mean, I'm having a hard time remembering the last time a first year came in and immediately was leading the team in almost every race throughout the season.
Yeah, that's certainly not our norm. We've, like, sort of prided ourselves in, like, you work hard and your seniors are your best runners. Like, you kind of get better, and that's how it was. Certainly with Jess Wilson, with Catherine Cook, with Katie Barker, we've just always had these seniors and a lot of people before that. It's sort of been our thing, so we're used to graduating a lot of people in our top 7, and this year we'll only graduate 1 in our top 7, so that will feel really different. But Jill, the one thing I just love about her is that she's local, so that was, like, something that we really try to have local kids on our team. So just, like, seeing her around and being like, oh man, if this could work out. So that was, like, really great, and a lot of people know her, a lot of people know her family. She's just, like, she's so great. This summer I saw her, like, running through my neighborhood a couple times, so you're like, there she goes, that was kind of, like, affirming and exciting. But she's never been on a team that's been, like, close to this competitive, ran with the boys in high school. It was just a really different thing, but she's, like, really taking it in stride. And, she'll look to me, like, I think state meet, she felt like, oh, maybe I wanted to do better. And I was like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, those were individual qualifiers for nationals last year. And she was like, oh, okay, So in some ways, you can really do a lot when you just go out and race and don't worry about, oh, this is this person and that's that person. So we're just trying with all of our freshmen to not be like, oh, this person was All-American last year, or this person was, like, second at, indoor nationals or something like that. You just, when they're naive to, like, the bigger picture, sometimes you just, like, roll with it because it makes it, like, less pressure to just, like, go out and race and execute.
And she's probably going to have a big impact come track season 2, I would have to imagine, right?
Yeah, I would bet, we haven't really talked about it, but my guess is, like, cross country is her favorite because a lot of these women, cross country is their favorite. I mean, just sort of like a natural thing. But then we do have some that I know also really love track. In Maine, lots of times if you're a good runner, you'll run the mile and the 4x8 and the 2 mile. So you'll be at meets and just run event after event after event, and that's really different than what we do. Right. So I don't really have a sense of when we actually just, like, try to run a 5K or try to run a fast 3K, how quickly all that will come together, because she's had some really good track times, but they're all in meets where she's run a lot of races, which is just typical high school in Maine.
Certainly. And then Olivia LaMarche, we talked about how seniors are the typical progression is by the time they're a senior, they're one of the leaders, and she is again this year an all NESCAC performance for her. What are you seeing from her development?
Well, she's actually a really interesting case because she came out her freshman year after like maybe the first week and said, I would like to run. I've run in the past. And so we were like, okay, fine. And then all of a sudden she's like at nationals, one of our top runners. Yeah. And then sophomore year, she was actually 8th at NESCAC when we were home. So that was like a really, really good performance for her. And then and then she had sort of some bumps and bruises along the way, which is like totally typical of our sport. So we really did, and she was abroad last spring. So we changed some of her training this year just to try to like tweak things to make it that she just like felt longer, stronger later in the season. And so we really have given a lot of thought of like how to like keep her going a little bit better. And I think most of it has really worked. So even from the get-go, she's been really consistent this year. And I'm just so happy for her because I feel like this is the runner she really is. And as long as we like keep her healthy and keep her going, then that's what we're going to see from her. But typically we've, come November and hit some bumps and bruises, which I don't think we're going to this year because we've I think figured out some stuff about her, and that's what's like exciting about coaching is you can't do it the same way all the time. You have to be willing to like make changes, and that was like my biggest goal coming in this year is like what can I do to really target this kid's training, to make her have the season I think that she can have.
Great. Well, any other thoughts on NESCACs and what you're most looking forward to with regionals coming up here in a couple weeks?
I'm just looking forward to regionals getting here. Yeah. It feels like, oh my gosh, now we have like 10 more days or 11 more days. But I think we'll be ready. It's exciting. We'll train like 10 people. Only 7 can run, but we train 10 people, and 5 of those are freshmen. Wow. So it's really good for them to like, even if some of them aren't running at regionals, to like go through the whole training cycle and realize like, okay, next year, this is how long the season is. This is what the collegiate season looks like. And they're so, we run in groups. Olivia and Jill run most races together, and then Abby and Tara run most races together, and Vanessa likes to work her way up a little bit, so she runs a little bit with everybody. Mm-hmm. She kind of says hi to everybody during the race, like, I'm running with you. But all those students in training, they're all together all the time. Yeah. They're like the same. Some have just, raced faster, and we just have to pick a couple. So they're really, really key for just the training of what's happening right now. And then, hopefully that will stay healthy and we'll be ready to go in 11, 12 days.
All right, Jay Hartshorn, NESCAC Coach of the Year. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
The men's soccer team defeated Colby 2-1 in overtime on Tuesday, thanks to a game-winning goal from first-year Bobby Dall. Dall joined the Bobcast immediately after the win.
Bobby, overtime match against Colby. Take me through the game-winning goal.
So I think it was a pass from the left side, and it came over to me, and I tried to flick it over one of the defenders' heads, and it got around him. And then I took a touch around their center back and just hit a near post shot. And then it just went in. I was so psyched. Ran over to the fans, a few that were here. My grandpa's here, so looked at him. It just felt great.
Have your grandfather seen you play before here?
Yeah. So he's from Maine too, so he comes to all the games. So I'm playing for him out here. So
nice. And obviously Colby a rival. What's it mean to get a rivalry win like this right before the NESCAC tournament?
Yeah, I mean we on a little losing streak coming into the game, so I think this win provides us a big bump of energy going into playoffs that we really needed.
Sure. Well, I mean, just in general, the guys like both these seniors like that, what do they mean in terms of leadership?
Oh, it's everything. These are the best group of seniors we could get. And we have 2 of our senior captains. Tony, he didn't even get to play a minute this season. And Peds, who's out with a concussion almost all season. So they're 2 huge leaders that we just didn't get on the field. And then a lot of the other guys like Bofis, Reeves, players like that, just super mature guys that just provide us with like unrivaled leadership.
Bates fell at Williams in the NESCAC quarterfinals on Saturday, but the Bobcats can be very proud of the season they put together. Their overall record of 9-6-1 was the team's most wins since 2008, and their conference record of 5-4-1 was their best since 2004. Speaking of being proud of their season, the field hockey program entered the national rankings this year and stayed, finishing with an overall record of 10-6 after a NESCAC quarterfinal loss to number 7 nationally ranked Williams on Saturday. The 10 wins are the most for the field hockey team in one season since 1999, and the Bobcats' 6 conference wins mark their most in NESCAC play ever. The Bates women's soccer team battled Colby to a 0-0 draw on Tuesday to finish its season, and the Bates volleyball team's campaign rolls on Friday at the NESCAC Championships when the 7th-seeded Bobcats take on 2-seed Wesleyan. We'll be recapping fall sports and getting winter sports started with season previews on the next few episodes of the Bobcast. Check out GoBatesBobcats.com for your favorite team schedule. For now, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Bates Bobcast.